Hello everybody, this is Juntes. Today I'm going to be talking about my experience of playing Path of Exile. A lot of you people have requested this over the years. I keep getting comments about it and I thought it's about time that I at least gave it a chance. So legit, I haven't played Path of Exile since level 50. The character that you're currently looking at is the original character from the open beta that I had back then. Funnily enough, I actually made it to level 50, which turned out to be both a good and a bad thing. Obviously, when you start out at Act 3 as a level 50 character, everything is too easy and you can just blow through like 5 acts without any problems. That was sort of an experience that I had to go through. But, a generic little quest here at the start of, was it Act 8? Going down to like a sewer area and killing a boss. Pretty easy way to kind of start off an act, and I thought I wanted to show off some gameplay from this sewer area. Cause come on, it looks pretty cool. Like there's a lot of mobs down here that like explodes and leaves acids on the ground, and I was able to get a few cool fights with lead packs and whatnot. These ones are always kind of fun. You kind of talk to them and they just start automatically after that. They have a name and they drop a specific currency that you can use in some way. Like everything is so complicated, I don't really want to spend too much time on these things, but yeah, you can see the currency drops from the mob here, and I just move on from there and pick it up. A lot of the loot in Path of Exile is not worth keeping. You should definitely know about that. Later on I will show the inventory and whatnot, but basically the inventory is way too small. Not talking about the inventory, the stashes and whatnot. They can be expanded easily if you pay for it, which is, fair enough. You have to pay for a bigger stash, that's okay since the game is free, but the inventory itself is very small, so you kind of end up going to town a lot. So yeah, decide on items that you definitely don't want to pick up, because then you're just going to be heading to town every 10 minutes to sell items, which is kind of an annoying gameplay. Anywho, another lead pack up here as well, nothing too amazing. Guess I can talk a little about the build. It's very fun, it's very active. You have two abilities. One is kind of a meteor style ability, the other one is just a chain lightning. Those two together with a pet, 2 auras and another ability and a movement ability makes for a pretty good build overall. Like the only thing this build doesn't have is some way to kind of have a oh shit button, a shield of some sort, a way to be more defensive if you're really getting hammered. But about that, I think it's pretty good, because the meteor one, while it does seem like it's an AoE spell, it's actually a pretty good single target as well. So on bosses I end up only using the meteor spell actually. It's pretty boring, but that's just how I find it to be. Now, I was walking a bit around here, kind of looking for the waypoint. As usually when I play an RPG, I kind of like to explore most of the map, if not all. So yeah, luckily wikis, I usually follow those along when I'm playing in a new area. But it's good to also just kind of explore the area, see something different. Here that drops 2 gems. For a lot of people who maybe don't play Path of Exile, gems are basically your abilities, from Diablo 2. That could be Fireball, that could be Frozen Orb, etc. And these gems are then put into gear that is linked together with sockets. So it's basically runes that does something different. When I played Path of Exile back in 2013, or was it 2014, the open beta was, I really hated the gem system, and I started to, I wouldn't say I like it more, but I can agree with the choice for it being there. However, I still just preferred that we were getting abilities through the passive tree, which I will also briefly go over a little later on. Basically, the talent tree is, this is gonna sound so harsh, but this is my opinion. Again, this is my opinion, but this is basically useless to have in the game. In the case of my build, the only nodes that I go for are defensive, that is health, and at certain times it's maybe some sort of resistance health thing, and then for the other part it's just elemental damage. And then like every 10 level I might pick up a node that gives a good amount of stats, like something, I don't know, 10% health and I don't know, 15% increased attack speed, something minor but still a little bit better. And for me, that is the most boring talent tree I've ever dealt with, while it also being one of the most bulkiest and clunkiest one to use. Like for a new player who opens up the passive talent tree in Path of Exile, they're getting an instant migraine headache when they look at it. And you know, to this day I still kind of do that. It's not very inviting and it doesn't make a lot of sense. But the worst problem is that it just doesn't do anything. You know, the talent tree is useless. It might as well just have given us, you know, the abilities that we are using instead of relying on gems in gear. But again, that's my opinion. I would love to know your thoughts on that, because that's definitely one of the biggest problems I have with, you know, building characters in general. Because you would literally have to invest a lot of time into this game before you would feel comfortable to make your own builds blindly without following any guides. I'm obviously following a guide because, you know, I started up with a character, thought, can I even say this? Is there anything to do? I was luckily able to actually, you know, start up with a character at level 50 with no gear, no gems, etc. Because a nice guy who recognized me in the game from the channel name on my YouTube channel, so that was very nice. Sorry I forgot about the name now, but he actually also gave me some gear, which I will show later on, which I actually can start use now at this level. So yeah, he hooked me up with a 6-linked chest, which you can see me using here when I open the inventory. And then he also gave me the gems that I needed to do my build. The build I will also talk about it more. But this is the stash. As you can see, this is the first tab is where I put all the currencies in and flasks that I picked up. This is where I pick all the more cool loots, even like legendary loots that I picked up. For some reason, there's just not a lot of legendaries that are dropped for me so far in like 5 acts. The legendary drop percent is very bad in this game. It's actually worse than even Grim Dawn. I thought Grim Dawn was terrible, but this is even worse. Maybe it gets a lot better, like doing maps, in-game stuff in Path of Exile. I definitely hope that, because going through an entire act and sometimes not even looting one legendary or whatever you call it in this game is pretty bad. And then in this tab I have all the gems. No, it's stupid. Why do I even pick up all these gems when you can buy all the gems at a vendor in like Act 6? But I thought I wanted to keep them all, but they filled so much and there's so many gems nowadays. This was some of the loots that was given for free. I thought they were pretty good rolls, so I just kept them for now, hoping to use them later on the build. But yeah, oh my god, there's so many gems, especially compared to, you know, when I first started playing it. And in here I just kept a lot of random loot that I picked up from playing, even in the open beta stuff. I will have to clear them out eventually. And then here you can just see me selling some stuff. You know, I like doing these, you know, sell trips to the town. I don't mind it, but as you can see, half the inventory is full of, you know, currency and whatnot. Then the rest of the half of the inventory, I can only, you know, pick up a few items every now and then before I have to return to town. And since I still have crap gear, I pretty much do want to consider every loot that has been dropped for me on the mobs that I'm clearing. I suppose later on when you are really equipped, you don't have to pick up all these loot items to consider upgrades. So that's at least nice. Anyways, back at it again. We are going to this boss here, and you can see that I'm able to actually do a few good pulls here. Like this pack was pretty good. You can see that I'm able to just clear it out. And I guess it is because I'm like 10, maybe 15 levels too high for this area. I'm not really sure what the, you know, the normal level range is for this particular act, but I feel like it's too easy for me, and I blame that partially on the levels, but I think also the build. You know, the build doesn't require a lot of gear and it's pretty easy to play. There's definitely nothing that this build haven't done for me well so far, so I think it's down to having a really good build and those levels that I'm able to clear things so easily. But let's also talk a little about, you know, the end game sort of aspect of the game, and also the community behind it. You know, I hate that I don't like this game. You know, I really do want to like Path of Exile, because god, this community is so good. You know, you pop on Reddit, you go on the forums for their, you know, the official forums, you go on the Vegas, you can just see everything is so freaking good and everything is made so well. Like they really care about it. Even just the April Fool's update was hilarious. But anyways, now I'm here at the boss, and as I always do when I engage a boss, I just YOLO and see what he does. If I can survive a YOLO pull, that's fun. If I don't, I just resurrect, because it doesn't matter if you die, the boss doesn't regenerate health. Anywho, now I obviously found out that I can click the valve, so now it gets more manageable. That's the fun thing with Path of Exile. Besides it being pretty good mechanics on the bosses, they're actually pretty challenging. A lot of the bosses definitely would be extremely hard without having decent build, decent gear, etc. I've even I wouldn't say I wasn't able to kill a boss, but like a few bosses I definitely died like 4 times, I think. And again, I am out leveled probably. I guess I'm out leveled at least, I'm not really sure. And then I do have a pretty strong build. So for me to actually see some resistance was pretty fun. Also just a lot of the bosses don't reuse mechanics. I'm kind of surprised by that. It seems like every boss has design that is not being copied from another one, which is kind of amazing to me, because you see in World of Warcraft or whatever, Blizzard always strives to make these great mechanics, but sometimes over the years we have kind of seen these bosses being copied, especially like in 5-mans or whatever. But yeah, this is very nice to see that they actually make pretty good boss fights with good mechanics. However, I just have to say that being able to resurrect on a boss, spawn right next to the entrance, and without the boss losing health is lame. That's just my opinion. Maybe that's okay, but I still find that to be a bit lame, because then you can just YOLO it and don't really care if you die or not. I think we can move on with kind of some more general stuff, tips, thoughts, and also the build and whatnot. I kind of also just want to kind of introduce you people to Path of Exile, kind of give you some pointers to how you can learn the game yourself, because the first thing I actually did when I booted out the game again, I did like 5-6 hours straight reading about the game. I am the kind of player that just cannot play a game blindly. I'm simply not able to do that. I wish I was, but I just can't. Anywho, this is the build. So an arc, which pretty much very friendly and everything. Shout out to this, and oh my god, those 400 plus pages on a freaking build. This community is so active. There's no doubt about it that a lot of people play this game. 400 pages on a freaking build, that's insanity. Extremely cheap to gear, yeah, very. I had no gear and I was still able to play it, so that's pretty sweet. I just have to get the links and gems and whatnot to work out, and it's very good. Yeah, then I also kind of just want to highlight here again, he leaves so many good bookmarks. You should bookmark all these sites so you can always find them and know about them, especially something like POE trade, POE currency and whatnot. These sites are very good to learn the game, especially learning trading, because that's another thing. The game expects you to trade. If you hate trading, don't play this game. Like, don't even bother. Of course you can play self-found league or whatever, but if you really want to play the end game, standard league or whatever, you're gonna have to trade, or you don't play it. Yeah, then I cross over some other things like the recipes. The recipes and crafting in the game is extremely hard, and I will not talk a lot about this because it's so complicated in the game. Trading is nothing like other games where you kind of have a blacksmith or tailor or whatever. It's very hard to understand, and I still don't really get it too much. Yeah, I could also mention a bit about gems. Some gems you do not want to level up, so that is due to procs and mechanics. Maybe they get too expensive to use, etc. That's kind of fun mechanic as well. Most gems you do, however, want to get to max level. And then this dude here does complete show through of all acts, what you need to do specifically for every act. What an amazing guide. Holy shit, this is good. I'm really impressed by this dude's guide here. And then I also do want to show off the passive tree here. This is for level 100, so this would be the max level of how a build would follow out. So I start here at the witch one, I go up, and I think I turned left here, go down and get some pretty cool notes, actually at like level 20 or so, so that was pretty sweet. Then I also actually started working on life notes down here. It's stupid, I take like 10 life notes down here at level 50. It's so boring. Life for like 15 levels straight there. And then I get some pretty good pointers out here to the left as well. Yeah, I don't think there's much more to say about that. And again, a lot of life again there. It's just more defensive. However, up here I was pretty happy to actually get some offensive notes. I'm pretty amazed I was even gonna get some, because I felt like the only thing I was picking up were straight up defensive notes, which is pretty boring. You know, it is a action RPG. I do want to do damage. Yeah, I'm just not much for only using defensive notes. Anywho, here we also have the POE trait that I wanted to show a little about. The POE trade I already used a bit. It's extremely good. I've never seen such a good trading simulator site, whatever. You can literally, you know, want an item and get somebody to trade with you within 2 minutes. It's that good. I am blown away. It's almost too easy. Like JSP, Diablo 2, that works, no doubt. This just takes it to a whole new level, and it's so much faster. I would almost say it's like cheating. The trading is just, you know, it's not as good as an in-game auction house. Nothing will ever be, but it's really, really good. So again, if you don't want to trade, and you also don't want to play only self-finance game, don't play Path of Exile. Everyone expects you to trade. So this is also the Path of Exile wiki that I do wanted to talk a little about. This is definitely a good resource, and you're pretty much just gonna have to rely on this, like even just finding waypoints or side quests, which I was doing a lot. This wiki helps out a lot. It's an extremely good wiki. Props to whoever made this, the team behind it. It's very good for an indie game. So here at the end, I also do want to talk a little about some cool things of the game if you haven't played in a while. They got rid of the difficulty tiers. There's no easy, normal, hard. It's just, was it 10 acts in total, and it's so nice to see that they actually did that. I am quite tired of these 3 difficulties that you have to go through, and I'm glad Path of Exile got rid of that, because it's like an outdated, you know, way to kind of level nowadays. It's boring. I feel like this is a better way to make linear difficulty, and you know, I'm not gonna complain about having 10 acts. It's fun because each act is not too long, and you kind of visit different areas all the time. Like Act 1 is this sort of beach, swamp, mountain area. Act 2 is this forest, jungle thingy, and you know, so forth. Like Act 3 is different from Act 4. Like, it's actually pretty well made, and none of the acts, at least from what I could tell, are copy pasted from one another. Every act is very different, which, you know, it makes for attractive gameplay, at least the first time when you're leveling up that brand new character and you don't know anything about the game in general. I also want to talk a little about, you know, again, the community. You know, you saw 400 pages on just the build that I'm using. It's maybe also quite popular for like starter builds if you're playing a witch or whatever. But my god, the community is so active, and like there's just so many. You know, if you ask a chat in like global, if you ask a question in the global chat, you're usually gonna get an answer. Like, people are generally pretty friendly, even to newcomers. You know, I had that dude who helped me out because he recognized my name. It's just very nice. Overall, I'm quite pleased, you know, with the start of the game and everything. I also just do want to highlight that you should not go into this game if you're not willing to spend, you know, a lot of time. And I'm not talking 50 hours, 100 hours. I'm talking maybe 300 hours. If you actually do want to get good at the game, you know, a lot of people could maybe say, well, I played this 75 hours, now I'm at Act 10, maybe did one map and I'm done. I'm maybe just gonna end up at that as well. But it would be a very empty feeling, because compared to a game where, as a Grim Dawn, a game where you kind of learn everything about the game as you played, Path of Exile is completely different, where you are not gonna learn shit from just playing the game. You know, I did a best in slot character with all the gems and vessels. You know, I even did some trading, and I did some end game content and whatnot in Grim Dawn. 125 hours done. You know, 125 hours in Path of Exile. That's not even gonna learn you anything. That's like an introduction to, you know, a class. That's yeah. This game is gonna be very time consuming if you do want to, you know, get into it properly. That is kind of also just wanted to kind of highlight that. But yeah, of course it's a good game, and you know, maybe I should have given it a chance before. But I feel like nowadays it's also pretty good. You know, they fleshed it out, especially the last big patch was pretty good, and I feel like it's a good time to jump into the game. And for me, playing it for the last month casually or so, it's been pretty fun. Especially also just after just been playing Grim Dawn a lot, you know, you can kind of compare that game to this and so forth. Because right now I still do believe that Grim Dawn is the best RPG currently in, you know, in the market for that game genre. Path of Exile is just not better, at least not, you know, from my point of view. But maybe it's also just because, again, I haven't really gotten to the end game just yet. But even from this, you know, introduction of the build I've done so far, you know, having okay gear, you know, it's not the worst gear that I'm using. You know, this 6-link chest I got and whatnot. I feel like I've seen most of the game, you know, the content, how I'm gonna end up and whatnot. Yeah, and for me, the game just doesn't quite, you know, spark that interest as Grim Dawn did. I think that's kind of the main thing. But the community is just so good, and if that kind of propels you to wanting to try it yourself, go for it. But I didn't want to make the video that much longer, so thank you so much for watching, and as always, have a good one.